Hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. Jaws here, and it's May the 4th. So, May the 4th be with you. We're back with a new species of shark that I'm pretty excited to talk about tonight. I am feeling like a little bit under the weather, so it might be a slightly shorter stream. But this is a really cool species that is native to our coast and also more commonly found in Florida, the Bahamas, and I think parts of the Caribbean. This is Carcharhinus acronotus, the Blacknose Shark. So these guys are super cool. You probably haven't heard of them, where you have like the black tip sharks are really famous, and you have silver tips and gray reef sharks, and like oceanic white tip sharks. But blacknose sharks, they're not as well known, and they're really cool. Like they're a bit of a smaller kind of Carcharhinus, but it's the same genus, same family as its bigger cousins. And it looks pretty much like your typical Carcharhinus build, except for the nose. The snout has this little black mark, and we can actually zoom in on it to, get a closer look. But it can actually be pretty prominent in individuals, some individuals. So when you see them in the wild, sometimes that little black tip on the nose could be kind of a little bit more distinct, and they're really cool in life. So I've seen a couple in captivity, but I haven't seen these sharks in a wild yet. So love to run into one someday. So tonight we'll just kind of go through a couple like basic facts about the blacknose shark, as well as some research and some footage. We actually have a couple fun clips of the species. But checking out Florida Museum of Natural History, blacknose sharks, so Carcharhinus acronotus. Blacknose sharks get their name from the dark blotch on the tip of their snout, which often fades on older adults. This shark has a streamlined shape and matures to just over 4 feet long. It feeds on smaller fish and sometimes octopus, and falls prey to larger sharks. When confronted in the wild, the blacknose shark may take a defensive posture, but is not linked to known shark attacks. And of course, it's not. It's a pretty small species overall. So, but these would be a really fun shark to swim with and dive with, just in terms of you know how small they are, harmless they are, and yet they have the classic shark look. So. A couple like quick shots of blacknose sharks. So again, they're a very popular aquarium shark. So here is a clip of the New England Aquarium, and there's one little blacknose shark. So they're pretty slender-looking sharks, and probably focuses on smaller prey items like smaller fish, squid. Maybe I don't know about squid, but smaller fish and vertebrates. There he goes, and this is actually really cool to see like a live feeding of this species. But last time I saw blacknose sharks, I think it might have been at Moat Marine Lab. I think they may have had a few, and then the what is it called? The Atlantis Resort in Bahamas actually has some blacknose sharks in that aquarium. These individuals are kind of interesting, where they like the black tip on the snout seems to be a little bit faded. Oh, there's a cool little bonnethead shark. And the cownose ray. What's kind of fun is that these sharks are similar in size to bottlenose sharks. So just as bonnethead sharks are like small hammerheads, blacknose sharks are like small requiem sharks. So. But here is the blacknose shark in the wild. So long, slender appearance, or long, slender body. Kind of a moderately sized dorsal fin, moderately sized pectoral fins too. And pretty cool to see some of the smaller Carcharhinus sharks. Because there's actually quite a few of them. This genus, I think, has about 20 species. So we know like the big famous ones like bull sharks and oceanic white tips and sandbar sharks and maybe even bronze whalers. But blacknose sharks are part of that fun collection of smaller Carcharhinus sharks that don't get as much attention. So really enjoy like having a little bit of time with the species today. So great shot of one going over a brain coral. You can kind of see that the second dorsal fin has a little bit of a dark tip as well. A lot of sharks in this genus have that. And kind of cool to see how the shark is cruising both above coral bottoms and then also sandy bottoms. So a lot of shark biologists make note of kind of what substrate you can find. I mean, not just shark biologists, but any kind of marine biologist, they'll make note of what substrate you can find fishes. Because each kind of substrate has a little bit of a different draw or appeal. So sandy, muddy, rocky, reef, or shipwreck. These are... It's kind of cool to see that different places appeal to different sharks. So I think kind of most noticeably, shipwrecks are really great locations for sand tiger sharks. They have a really high site fidelity to those areas. And then coral reefs appeal to certain kinds of sharks, like white tip reef sharks, particularly like the coral reef environment. So. Hey Roy, welcome back. Good to see you. Hope you had a good weekend. Oh my gosh, Carcharhinus, let's go! Yes, so also happy May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I think we might have done this last year. Love to feel free to leave a comment on your favorite Star Wars movie. So I might have done this last year. I probably did, and I'm unironically doing this, but the Phantom Menace. it's ridiculous. I know everybody hates that one, but I grew up right when that movie came out, and it just has a special nostalgic place in my heart. So, and Darth Maul was awesome. Darth Maul, I think Darth Maul got way too complicated in terms of like all the stuff that's come out after. So, thank you, Opie Zach Kenobi. So yeah, I just something about the Phantom Menace it's just a lot of fun with Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn all fighting for the fate of I probably did talk about this last year, but like the final fight in the end of that movie, there's a really cool interpretation that fight it's not about beating Darth Maul. Thank you. The last fight of Maul and Kenobi was wicked. Yeah. It was not only incredible, but there's a really cool interpretation that the fight was not about beating Darth Maul. It's about who trains Anakin, and if Qui-Gon lived throughout that fight, Anakin would have been okay. And Anakin would have been a Jedi, and Qui-Gon could have reined in his dark side impulses, and it would have been okay. But because Qui-Gon was slain, Obi-Wan, who was not well equipped to train Anakin, was his mentor, and Anakin fell to the dark side, and it unleashed Darth Vader and all the evil in the galaxy. So it's a really cool fight from that perspective, where it's like it's really a fight, and it's why it's called Duel of the Fates. It's like it's about, it's about Anakin's fate and how it all could have gone well if Qui-Gon lived, but because Qui-Gon died, it all went the way it did. So yeah, that's another thing I like about Phantom Menace is like there's a lot of stuff going on in it. It's not executed well, but there's a lot of stuff that I think is really interesting in it. So and of course the fight is so kinetic. I just love it. So love your comment, Roy. Thank you. And let me know your favorite one too, if you were a Star Wars fan. So I'm pretty sure you are. I think we did talk about some of the movies last year. So, by the way, I hopped back over to Fishbase briefly. So, and there's a photo here that actually is a good shot of a Blacknose shark. And by the way, my voice sounds a little bit kind of low, and I'm feeling like a little bit under the weather, and part of that is I've been traveling a lot this weekend, so my wife and I were in New York over the weekend, which was super fun, but lots of traveling, so if I sound kind of like lower register, it's probably the New York subway slash traveling in general, so yeah. Ooh, Roy, I really like Return of the Jedi. Great pick. IDK felt very heartwarming knowing Anakin still has some good in him in regards to his son. Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna star that because great pick. Like that one. That one is a classic, and I love the the fight in the end of that one is also awesome. Where it's like just Luke appealing to his father was able to reach his humanity and was willing to put everything on the line in order to save him. Like that's just such a cool. It's such a strong ending. So kind of fun, nerdy Star Wars fact, by the way, that connects those two movies. And I know it's a Shark stream. I know it's a Shark stream. It's not a Star Wars stream, but the throne room scene in Return of the Jedi, there's that really ominous music, right? Where it's like, it's like the Emperor's theme is like these like really like low guttural chants, and it's like very like haunting and very like spooky and everything. And in the end of Phantom Menace, there's that celebration in the end with like the oh hey, what's up? I love this Octopus and No Friends. Sup fishes, welcome back. Good to see you. I was just talking about some Star Wars where in the end of Phantom Menace, the happy music is the Emperor's throne room music, sped up super super fast. So it's the same notes. It's just like in Phantom Menace, and Palpatine's in the end of that scene. Like he's in the last scene where he's like celebrating with all the Gungans and celebrating with everybody, and everything seems like it's okay, but it's the Emperor's music sped up really really fast. Because at the end of the day, we know that Palpatine basically is going to take over and won. And, part of it was the whole Duel of the Fates where Qui-Gon was slain and Obi-Wan is going to train Anakin, and we know that that's going to fall apart and Anakin's going to fall to the dark side and become Darth Vader. And so like the music at the end, the really celebratory music, it's the same notes as the throne room music. It's just sped up really fast so that you don't notice that, wait a minute, this is actually kind of ominous and it's all going to fall apart. Which is so cool. Oh, awesome! Octopus and No Friends. Love the prequels. Same here, honestly. Like I feel like I think the best way to describe the prequels is that they're fantastic stories and they're not executed well, but they're great stories. There's a couple things here and there where there's just like the acting's not so good, or like the directing's weird, or like the writing is bad. It's got its wonkiness, but the stories are awesome. And like the civics and like the the philosophy. I think the prequels are fantastic. I think they were undervalued, honestly. Phantom Menace is unironically my favorite Star Wars movie, like for sure. So. The episode 3 novel is fantastic. So I'd love to read that at some point. My wife got me the Empire. I forget, it's like the history of the Empire, like the chronological history of the Empire book. I guess it's not a novel. It's kind of more like a Star Wars history thingy. I don't know. So I still have to go through it, but it's a space opera. It's got to be wonky. George Lucas is right about the political stuff too, taken down from the inside. Yep, 100%. And what's really cool is because George Lucas also did Indiana Jones, and this might sound strange, but like there's the young Indiana Jones series was also George Lucas, and that series especially, and then of course the movies too. Like there's a lot of insight from like how societies have risen and fallen, like different empires and different communities, and the anthropology that kind of like of each society, and like the commonalities of each society. It's so interesting that a lot of Star Wars is pulled directly from like if you diluted every culture and philosophy and religion into kind of like very basic concepts, and civics into very basic concepts. It's actually really cool because those movies are based on history and like multiple periods of history. So not just modern history, but like early modern and medieval and ancient history about like how Rome like rose and fell, and like Germany rose and fell, and just like it's so cool that it's informed by multiple events and multiple periods of history, and that's part of why I think it resonates so much, and part of why we have May the 4th, like how everybody, or not everybody, but like most people around the world are saying this right now, and how Star Wars has like resonated with them so much is that it genuinely does touch on some fascinating, wide-reaching commonalities that we all share in different cultures and different societies, which is so cool. So yeah, and I definitely agree. Octopus No Friends, taken down from the inside, and George was very insightful. So I'm gonna start that because that's fantastic. So, and I'm so glad he made those movies too. I think those are really good. I think they're very good lessons for not just when they came out, but just for future audiences too. I think they're very, very nice introduction in terms of questioning the state. I don't know if you guys have seen Andor, but Andor actually does a really great job exploring that too. So, but by the way, this is a good shot of. Sorry, this took forever to load, but this was and I also was rambling, but this was a good shot of a Blacknose Shark's namesake. So this is actually the black spot at the tip of the snout. So in younger individuals, it's very distinct, and older individuals, it fades. But this is the key identifying feature for the species, apart from its size, is the black spot at the tip of the snout. So this is how Blacknose Sharks got their name. Other names for Blacknose Sharks are Zwart. Zwartnuithai. I'm gonna butcher that. Hanagurozame in Japanese, and then Kazan Amarillo, lombo-preto. I guess in English the only English name is Blacknose Shark. I'm gonna check the shark references to make sure. Yeah, actually, that's kind of interesting. Usually there's multiple English names. There's a lot of Spanish names, but for English it is just Blacknose Shark. Importance to humans, viewed as too small to be of interest to fisheries in the United States. In Mexico, the species is locally consumed in the Campeche area to create a regional dish known as pan de cazan. The Blacknose Shark is also somewhat targeted for sport fishing, as it's still able to be fished when the season for larger sharks is closed. Danger to humans, the shark it's very small, so there's I'm sure it's very safe to be around, but this shark poses little threat to humans and has never been reported in a shark attack case. However, when confronted by divers, the Blacknose Shark has been reported to give a threat display in the form of a hunchback with head raised and caudal lowered. Interesting. So that's actually a lot of members of this genus do something similar. The famous example being gray reef sharks. Like they'll swim in such an exaggerated in such an exaggerated way, and it's like a threat display. It's communicating back off, or you're in my territory and I don't want you to be there. And that's actually cool that Blacknose Sharks are doing this in a different part of the world. Speaking of which, would like to check their range. So Blacknose Sharks can be found in Brazil. And I actually did not realize that their range extended that far south. So they could be found in Brazil, northern South America, so Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, Central America. You can actually find them all around the Gulf of Mexico and the Antilles. So looks like they pretty much are around most of the Caribbean, but clearly in shallow areas, which is kind of cool. So it looks like they're in tropical waters, maybe more reef associated. You have strong presence in Florida, and this is also kind of fascinating. It looks like the Blacknose Shark, when you get around the Gulf of Mexico and Florida, it likes to be kind of around the not the shelf, like not the like not inshore, like maybe or not near shore, but like inshore. That's actually kind of interesting distribution. What I mean by this is like it's kind of fascinating to see that Blacknose Sharks don't seem to be entering into truly nearshore habitats, but they still live inshore, but they're not really going right up to the coastline, and so they may not be fans of estuaries. They may want full seawater, and that might be what's going on as far as like why this map looks so scattered. I would like to check fish base for habitat, so let's see. Or maybe Florida Museum of Natural History may have this. This shark is found in coastal, tropical, and warm temperate waters off the western Atlantic Ocean. As an inshore species, the Blacknose shark resides in waters of continental shelves over sandy and coral bottoms. There is segregation by size and sex in the species. Juveniles are typically found in shallow water, while adults are located at greater depths, 18 to 64 meters. So that's still pretty shallow, but it's kind of interesting that the upper depth limit is 18 meters. So it looks like the shark doesn't want to be in too shallow water. Fishbase says marine reef associated, depth range 9 to 64 meters. So it's kind of cool that you don't find this at the surface and you don't find this in the surf zone. Like, this is a shark that wants to be in the slightly deeper part of the sunlit zone, which is kind of interesting. So the name Carcharhinus comes from, or the Latin name Carcharhinus comes from sharp or jagged, and rhinus, ancient name for sharks. Also, I think rhinus can be nose. I think we talked about this on our last Carcharhinus stream. But, it literally translates as sharp nose or shark nose. Acronotus, acron comes from top, summit or peak, and notice is black, illusion not explained, perhaps referring to raised. Notice is back, illusion not explained, perhaps referring to raised back at the dorsal fin. Kind of interesting. Found on continental insular shelves, mainly over sandy shell and coral bottoms. Feeds on small fishes, including pinfish and porcupine fish. So, not a lot of sharks. We don't really read that as a prey item for a lot of sharks. Preyed on by larger sharks, viviparous, so live-bearing with a yolk sac placenta, with 3 to 6 young per litter. Performs a hunch display with back arched, caudal fin lowered, and head raised as a possible threat display when confronted by divers. Interesting. Conservation, the highest cause of mortality stems from bycatch in the shrimp trawl and fisheries in the U.S., allowing overfishing. The population trends off the shores of countries like Brazil, U.S., and the Caribbean show a decline even though fisheries still catch large adults. The observed decline places in the Blacknose shark in the near threatened category, and I think this is actually outdated. I think it's an endangered species now. So... Oh, Roy, sorry, I just saw this comment. Andor is absolute cinema. Yes. Oh, yeah. No, this is a good stream to do both. Because like Blacknose sharks, I think there's not as robust literature. Like last week with the scalped hammerhead, there's so much information on that shark, and like that one is so well studied that we could go for hours and hours. Blacknose shark, there's a good amount of information, but I don't think it's as robust. So, long story short, I think it is a good stream to talk about sharks and Star Wars. So it's fun to kind of spice it up a little bit. But yes, Andor is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I think it was very timely, and it's kind of like it's interesting that it's a little bit of a hard watch. I would not recommend it to. I wouldn't recommend it to some like people who may want more of the lighthearted Star Wars. It's definitely not that, but it's really, really good. I very much enjoyed it. And it's actually such a nice, smooth transition from what was it, like Obi-Wan Kenobi show to Rogue One. Andor just sets that up beautifully, so I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, who would you endanger this little guy? So yeah, let's see what's going on with this species as far as the endangered status. And I didn't realize that they were endangered. And it's kind of interesting that this, I mentioned earlier that this is the same size class as a bonnethead shark, which is also an endangered species. And so I'm curious what the factors are. Let's see the assessment information in detail. The Blacknose shark is a small requiem shark found in the western, central, and southwest Atlantic Oceans from North Carolina to Brazil, including the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean Sea. It is demersal on continental and insular shelves over sand, shell, and coral at depths of 18 to 64 meters. It is caught as target and bycatch in coastal commercial fisheries and retained primarily for meat. In the western central Atlantic, where management exists, it is estimated to have declined 2.8% per year over 3 generation lengths, which is 26 years, based on stock assessments and scientific surveys. It is referred to have undergone a population reduction of 30 to 49% over the past 3 generations in the region, as the population has recently stabilized and population projections from the stock assessment indicate rebuilding is possible and species-specific management exists in the United States. In the southwest Atlantic, due to levels of exploitation by widespread artisanal fisheries and in some areas commercial fisheries, which lack adequate management, and notable declines in landings in several areas, it is suspected the species has undergone a population reduction of 50 to 79% over the past 3 generation lengths, 32 years in the southwest Atlantic. Overall, due to the southwest Atlantic occupying a large proportion of its overall global range and the only species-specific management occurring in the United States, it's suspected the species has undergone a population reduction of 50 to 79% over the last 3 generation lengths due to levels of exploitation and is assessed as endangered. So it was a mouthful, but essentially in southwest Atlantic, so South America, higher exploitation levels than in the western central Atlantic, so the Caribbean and North America, and that's what's really contributing to the decline. So I'm curious what our regulations are. So, shark regulation. Because I forget where blacknose sharks place, if they were prohibited or if they're not. Because I know, like on the United States federal level, it gets kind of weird. I'm also going to post this in the chat if anybody would like to take a look. This is pretty interesting. Oh, Roy, really good guess. Gill nets. So, very good guess as far as the shark's prey items and habitat being kind of close to shore and shallow water. Let's see. Because, okay, yeah, no, you got it. Highest cause of mortality stems from bycatch in the shrimp trawl and fisheries in the U.S. allowing overfishing. So gill nets and trawl nets are the big things that are hurting the species. So that excellent observation in terms of what might be hurting this. And I know that kind of fishing is very popular in warm waters, warm near shore waters. So which is a shame because that's exactly where the shark lives. I'm also kind of curious if some of the smaller hammerheads, part of the reason why they get into trouble is that they don't have a refuge at depth. So larger hammerhead sharks, actually no, that's not a good example because they're critically endangered. Larger sharks can sometimes access deeper waters, and actually not even that, I'm sorry, because we have a lot of small sharks that live in deep water. Let me rephrase this. Some species of sharks, many species of sharks, can enter deeper water, and in so doing they avoid human pressure. But some sharks, like the blacknose sharks, if they have a minimum depth range, like they do here at 64 meters, they're right in the middle of a highly human impacted zone without a refuge. Like they can't escape into the deep ocean to avoid the nets. So unfortunately, this is going to be a big problem for the species, which is a shame. And I think the trawling and the fact that there's not a way to get away from the trawling are probably the two factors affecting the species conservation. So, as far as protection goes, let's see what we have. Because it should be in here. Oh, Blacknose Shark. So it looks like Blacknose Shark you're allowed to fish for the species in federal waters of the United States. And kind of interesting how we get here, too. So, because like the sharks in the blue text are permissible, and the sharks in the red text are not. So Blacknose Shark is identified, grey to yellow body, black marking usual on type of snout, teeth different upper and lower jaw. Second dorsal fin may have markings but not other fins. Graded blue body, teeth in the same in the upper and lower jaw. I'm sorry, no, that's fine-tooth shark. This guide is actually kind of cool because it's like a dichotomous key. So actually, this is pretty interesting. Okay, so we might have talked about this before. I think we probably did, but this is these guides I hone in on a key feature that really helps to tell shark species apart when you encounter them in the wild, and that's for Carcharhinus, the presence or absence of an intradorsal ridge, which is right here. So this is a raised area of dermal denticles that make a ridge between the two dorsal fins, and it's pretty distinct. It's pretty high and easy to tell on the body. And it's kind of cool that in U.S. waters, all ridgeback sharks are prohibited except tiger sharks and smoothhounds. Prohibited ridgeback sharks include bignose, Caribbean reef shark, dusky shark, which is really important to protect, Galapagos shark, night shark, oceanic whitetip, also very important, sandbar, and silky shark. So if it has a ridge on its back, it is protected, unless it's a tiger shark, unless it's a smoothhound, like a dusky smoothhound. It's nice that they highlight the oceanic whitetip shark here too. It's very strange that federal level hammerheads can be taken. That's really odd. Those should be protected species because two of these are critically endangered. Bonnethead's endangered. Sharpnose shark is okay. And this is actually a really cool guide where you can go through each part of the dichotomous key on the left here to identify your species. So for a blacknose shark, you can ask the questions like single dorsal fin, no, it has two. Flattened body, no, it has a round body. Blunt snout with mouth at tip, first dorsal fin above pelvic fins, no, the mouth is on the underside. First and second dorsal fins nearly the same size, no. Very long tail, upper lobe like a thresher shark, no. Tail lobes, upper and lower, nearly same size, very pointed snout, no. Upper tail lobe, obviously longer than lower tail lobe, yes. Midpoint of first dorsal fin closer to pelvic fins than pectoral fins, no. Blunt snout shorter than mouth width, no. Pointed snout, yes. Black tips on the pectoral fins and tail, no. Gray to blue body, teeth same in the upper and lower jaw, no. Gray to yellow body, black marking usually on the tip of the snout, teeth different upper and lower jaw. Second dorsal fin may have markings but not other fins, yes. So it's kind of cool that blacknose sharks and fine-tooth sharks look kind of similar, but blacknose sharks have the black nose, and they also have different teeth in the upper and lower jaw, whereas fine-tooth sharks have the same kind of teeth in the upper and lower jaw. It's really cool to, when you go through this key, you have all these other familiar North American species like spinner sharks, black tips, bull sharks, blue sharks, the good old-fashioned porbeagle, white shark, long fin mako, short fin mako, basking shark, sand tiger, big eye thresher or thresher, lemon shark, nurse shark, whale shark, sand devil, also known as Atlantic angel shark, and then finally the 6-gill and 7-gill sharks. So, Roy, I'm only okay with fishing if it doesn't involve unprofessional handling of the animals or if it's for individual culinary purposes. Yep. So, it's interesting where. Sorry, replace the. Oh, I'm sorry, and. Okay. I'm only okay with fishing if it does involve unprofessional handling of the animals and if it is for individual culinary purposes. So, and like, I think it's a good position to take where it's always tricky where. And we've hit on it multiple times on the channel where fishing directly impacts sharks, and it is by far the most negative thing that's hitting them right now is bycatch. But it is also simultaneously an economy and a culture, and so like the practice itself, it's you know, you have to be like people have to be very mindful in terms of like how you navigate what is good for the sharks, but what is also good for like the culture and the economy. And I think we can all agree that overfishing is a problem, and overfishing, there's too much of it still, and there's not enough regulation or kind of sensible management. But there are great management practices. I was telling somebody the other day about marine protected areas that have been great investments for everybody involved, where you have an area of the ocean that's protected, and it keeps the animals safe and happy, but it also allows them to grow and reproduce. And when they get out of the marine protected area, they produce better than non-marine protected areas, and fishermen actually can take advantage of the surrounding area outside of a marine protected area to get bigger fish and more fish. So, so there's a way to make it harmonious. There's a way to have it be that you can manage the animals and make sure that they're okay, and make sure that they are protected, but also have it that they can still supply a a sensibly managed fishery. That website that we see sometimes, like Seafood Watch, has a really good job at recording which fisheries are manageable and do a good job at having low impact, and which fisheries are not. So I'm gonna see if I can find that again. And it's really fascinating too that sometimes it could be the same animal. Where it will be the same kind of salmon or the same tuna, but depending on where it is and how it's fished or farmed, it can be very, very different in terms of. There we go. Download Seafood Guide. It could be very different in terms of. There we go. How well or poorly managed that particular animal is. One that's pretty interesting. I wonder if I can get the popular one. Seafood Watch popular guide. Okay, there we go. Lobster has been really interesting lately, where download the popular seafood guide. Here we go. Oh, actually, wait a minute. This is a little odd. Cod, tilapia, swai. They should have more on this. Hold on. There's a seafood guide that has everything on it. Grocery stores. Oh, wait a minute. Bivalves guide. Shrimp guide. Wait a minute. Sorry, there's a seafood guide that has everything on it. And I find it very curious that lobster is not mentioned because, and it's been pretty controversial. What? National View Digital Guide. Hold on. National Seafood Guide. Oh, here we go. I think this is what I'm thinking of. Okay, download the PDF version. Okay, there we go. So this is the one that I wanted to share with everybody. But I apologize if I wasn't able to share this before. This is really great. So it has seafood in these three categories: best choice, good alternative, or void. And just as an example, so let's find squid, right? So you got squid from California. That's fantastic. That's a good, well-managed fishery. So buy California squid. You have squid from Chile or Peru. It's a good alternative. Not ideal, but it's fine. And then you have squid from all other imported options. Not a good idea. There's something about that fishery that is not well managed. It's very destructive. Yeah. I mentioned lobsters specifically is because lobster, American lobster from the US or Canada, is in the avoid category. So this has been kind of controversial, and the big reason, as I understand it, in terms of why lobster are on the avoid list is because of how the traps are set, and how that the way that they're set is that right whales get entangled in the traps, and the right whales are such a valuable they're probably the poster child of conservation on this coast. They're the panda bears of this coast. They're very, very rare. and critically endangered animals. And so the lobster fishery has been the thing that's been hurting them the most. But it's been very controversial because, of course, in New England especially, lobster is such an iconic staple of the cuisine and the culture, and a big fishery. So it's just been kind of fascinating that it's in the avoid category. I'm very pleased to see that sharks, all sharks, firmly, we'll zoom in on that. Sharks are avoid all the time. Every shark, any shark. And actually what's kind of interesting too, it's not just to help the sharks, but it's also a health concern too. Because sharks being top predators, all the toxins, the mercury, the bioaccumulated, like anything that a shark eats, it ingests, it incorporates into its body, and the higher you go in the food chain, the top predator usually has the most amount of junk in it in terms of like heavy metals or toxins or PCBs or just really. There's been multiple studies of shark skin and shark muscle tissue having a very high concentration of mercury, or there's a specific compound that is attributed to Alzheimer's, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. It's like dimethyl something. I forget what it is, but it's like there's a lot of not so good stuff in sharks, sadly. So, but that's part of the reason why it's a void. Part of it is that they need our help and they're in conservation trouble. So, just going to prove this really quickly. So, just for my own, actually, just reaffirmation as well. So, best choice, good seafood, is Arctic char, bass that is farmed from the U.S. or Mexico, American catfish, clams that are farmed, Pacific cod and flounder from Alaska, mahi-mahi from the U.S. Atlantic, pole and line, farmed mussels, farmed oysters, rockfish, also a striped bass from America, farmed salmon from New Zealand, farmed scallops, farmed seaweed, shrimp farmed from the U.S., sole from the U.S., squid from California, sturgeon from the U.S., farmed from the U.S., sorry, swordfish from the U.S. or Canada, acquired by buoy gear, harpoon, or pole and line, rainbow trout from the U.S., albacore and white tuna from Pacific or Atlantic, troll, pole and line, and then big eye, skipjack, chunk light, and yellowfin ahi tuna from Pacific handline or pole and line. So I want to see if there's any. It's kind of cool because a lot of these fishes are on all these lists, but it's just like how they're acquired. Orange roughy is a really big avoid. It's a deep water fish that should not be touched. Bluefin tuna that's farmed, or any kind of tuna, can be a little bit problematic. Branzino, interesting. Imported mahi-mahi. Yeah, so this is a really handy guide. So I left it in the chat for everybody to peruse. You can print it out and fold it up, and it's like a handy little card. So, oh, nice! Octopus No Friends. I'm vegetarian, but I miss eating seafood. I can't lie. From Mass, still live here. That's so cool. So, and like it's hard because like the seafood is fantastic, but I think there are some like seafood, because my brother is pescatarian, I think, but I think he's explored like he's either vegetarian or pescatarian. I'm pretty sure he's pescatarian, but I think he's explored seafood alternatives. Like there's like really cool, very flavorful vegetarian alternatives to seafood. And also, fun fact, my mom, since it's almost Mother's Day, my mom is actually from grew up in Stoneham in Massachusetts. So shout out to Stoneham, shout out Massachusetts. We love Massachusetts over here. It's a great state. It is truly a great state. So hello Mass. I personally like I've done snorkeling in Ipswich, believe it or not. And speaking of lobster, I actually went to a lot of lobster in that area, so it's a really beautiful area. So, but yeah, shout out to Mass. I forget. I got kind of so far down the. Oh, I was checking the Blacknose Shark's status. I'm going to check one more thing before we get back to the basic biology. Florida shark fishing regulations. I'm very curious, like where Blacknose sharks stack in Florida, because Florida has been surprised. Well, I shouldn't say surprisingly, but it's been. There's some sharks that it has on its prohibited list that are very very well thought out, well thought of, like angel sharks or the sand devil, dusky shark, great hammerhead. I mean, that was the thing: scalloped hammerhead and great hammerhead, smooth hammerhead. It's great that all these sharks are on the prohibited list because that's actually better than federal regulation. Unfortunately, though, the blacknose shark is on the permissible list, so it's quite a shame that blacknose sharks, both in Florida, which they're more popular in Florida than they are in other states, and federally they're permitted, which is kind of odd considering it's an endangered species. But let's see what else we can learn about the shark. So, and any other conservation notes on this? Fishing of species managed by U.S. National Marine Fisheries Service. Let's see. And I'm curious if conservation notes are on IUCN Red List as well. I think I just scanned through this, but I think this is the general federal management plan for sharks. There are coastal gillnet bans in South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Texas, which will also provide protection for the species. There's a commercial retention of 8 blacknose sharks in all trips when the blacknose shark fishery is open. To end overfishing and rebuild the blacknose shark stock, NIMS established a separate quota of 17 metric ton dress weight for blacknose shark. And I'm just scanning for any blacknose shark specific. Bahama Shark Sanctuary was established in 2011. It's currently legal to fish for, land, or possess any sharks or shark parts in the Bahamas. Enforcement is very underfunded and inadequate, making it possible that exploitation may be occurring at present or in the future. To conserve the population and to permit recovery, a suite of measures will be required, which may include species protection, spatial management, bycatch mitigation, and harvest and trade management measures include international trade measures. Effective enforcement of measures will require ongoing training and capacity building, including the area of species identification. Catch monitoring is needed to help understand population trends and inform management. Alright, let's see if I... what else there is to learn about the basic biology. So it looks like it's an endangered species that it's sort of enjoying some of the protections for larger plants, but there isn't really a lot of species-specific management approaches to it. So, and the trend, ICRS has just been just released trends, is saying that it's decreasing, sadly. So this is a really good, for any future shark biologists, it's a very good species to study and focus on as far as like things that we could do to help support its conservation, because it looks like there's not a lot of attention on it despite its endangered status. So Roy, that was a pretty picture of it, so be happy to go back. So gorgeous shot from Andy Murch. So Andy Murch is the shark photographer. So, and I've been really silly, I've been saying Andy Murch because I look at things from a Latin perspective, so that I'm used to like the CH being a K sound, but I was watching a video of his recently, and it's I think it's pronounced Murch, so apologies if he's ever watched any of these videos, did not mean to say that incorrectly. So, but beautiful shot, and this looks like this is from a oh, actually it says a note. Western tropical Atlantic Ocean near South Bimini Island, so this is in the Bahamas. So beautiful seagrass meadow with a fish in the background. I can't tell what that is. It almost looks like a bluefish, but the coloration in the back is a little bit different. But this beautiful blacknose shark in the sunny, crystal clear waters of the Bahamas. And you got a little bit of a shot of the shark's namesake here, the the tip of the snout. And then it's kind of cool to see this is actually a beautifully proportioned shark where it's a little bit more slender than other Carcharhinids. The dorsal fin is a little bit, and I know I said it was moderately sized earlier, but the dorsal and the pectoral fins actually both are a little bit smaller proportionally, and it almost looks like it's analogous to a sharp-nosed shark, but you've got that kind of like robust like head and a little bit of a larger jaw, and the snout is a little bit more rounded. Moderately sized eyes, equal sized dorsal and anal fins, with the anal fin that actually has a pretty deep notch in it too. And then a pretty large lower caudal lobe relative to the upper. So it's a very elegant looking shark overall. So here's a great shot of a blacknose shark over a stingray. Again, enjoying a seagrass meadow. This is a gorgeous shot of a coral reef that the blacknose shark is cruising over. So it's just a beautiful small shark. Nice shot of a blacknose shark in mid-water column. And then a shot of blacknose shark over a sandy bottom. So yeah, very, very, very beautiful animal. So as far as diving notes for the species, because this website has some really, really great dive notes. Shy around scuba divers, but surprisingly bold in baited situations. Diving logistics. Near South Bimini Island of the Bahamas, blacknose sharks... blacknose sharks are often encountered during Caribbean reef shark feeds at Triangle Rocks and southern stingray feeds at Gun Cay. The depth at both sites is less than 6 meters. Now this is interesting. This is actually more shallow than the blacknose shark's minimum depth range, which is pretty interesting. So I think the ICMR list needs to be updated that if it's only 6 meters that they were able to meet them. So these dives are only offered by land-based operators because most liveaboards are too large to approach those dive sites. Andros Island is repeatedly another good place in the Bahamas to find blacknose sharks, moving in and out of the mangroves with the tide. However, I did not encounter any when I was there. Further south in the Caribbean in St. Martin, the reef shark feed organized by Dive Safari's local operator used to track a handful of blacknose sharks, but they became less frequent over time. It is unclear if they were fishing out of, or if they were fished out, or if competition with the attending Caribbean reef sharks became too great. Behavior: blacknose sharks undergo seasonal migrations related to water temperature. They are known to perform agonistic displays, so fins down, back hunch when threatened. Let's see. It has been recorded from Virginia to southern Brazil, but rarely strays north of Wreck Island in North Carolina. Its diet consists mainly of small bony fishes. In habitat, a warm water species inhabiting coral reefs and sand flats and scrub, 0 to 64 meters. Often cited as occurring between 18 and 64 meters, but in the Bahamas have consistently encountered blacknose sharks in shallow water, surface to 10 meters, where they are abundant. So that's actually really cool that Andy met some of these sharks and disproved their 18-meter record. And actually, I should make a note of that because I think I have... I was kind of putting together a spreadsheet of sharks that occur in Virginia based on their depth, and I should actually update that at some point. So I'm going to make a note of that. So just grab it a pen. Blacknose, 0 meters. Okay, cool. Going back to Florida Museum, let's see if there's anything else we have on basic biology for the species. There's a little blacknose shark on the side of a boat right here. Coloration of Blacknose Shark is pale greenish or yellowish gray with black or dusky tips on the second dorsal fin and dorsal caudal lobe. There's a black or dusky spot under the tip of the snout, which is more distinct in younger individuals, hence the common name Blacknose Shark. So you can barely see it here, but here's sort of a... You can kind of see the black tip here. Nice little diagram of the teeth here. And we can actually probably see a jaw set of Blacknose Sharks on Shark References. Yep, here we go. So really great upper teeth. Very good for eating fish where they're a little bit more narrow. And a pretty distinct shape where you have this kind of like like a little bit of a wavy interior edge. And then a very straight posterior edge at almost like a 90-degree angle, which is kind of wild. And then you can actually see some serrations at the base of that cusp, the rearward base of it, which is kind of cool. Probably useful for helping to kind of crack into and crush or pierce into shellfish, like crab shells. You can see some symphysial teeth. So these two little teeth in the middle of the jaw, these are called symphysial teeth, and a lot of sharks have them. I don't think every shark has symphysial teeth, but a lot of sharks do. Great view of the jaw set, where you could see obvious differences between the upper and lower jaw, where the lower jaw is like small spiky teeth, the upper jaw is broader teeth that are good for slicing. So a nice close-up of the smaller teeth here. Or the lower teeth, which are more widely spaced and have kind of like a peg in the center cusp, or spike in the center cusp being a spike, so great for stabbing fish and holding on to them. Let's see, the average length of a full-grown blacknose shark is approximately 125 centimeters or 4.1 feet total length, reaching a maximum size of 200 centimeters or 6.5 feet total length. Depending on geographic location, age of maturity and lifespan vary. It could be 4 years for males and 4 years for females, which is actually pretty good for sharks. In the Gulf of Mexico, most males mature at 5 years and females at 7 years, like 6.6. For females, longevity in the U.S. South Atlantic is typically 19 years, and in the Gulf of Mexico is the average of 16.5 years. A recent study has reported that the maximum age of 11.5 years for female blacknose sharks and 9.5 years for male blacknose sharks in the Gulf of Mexico. The shark commonly weighs about 11 kilos or 24 pounds at maturity. Excuse me. Food habits. Blacknose shark is a quick swimmer, feeding on small fishes including pinfishes, croakers, and porgies, anchovies, spiny boxfishes, and porcupine fish. It's also known to feed on octopus. Interesting. So what's kind of cool is like most of these fishes are classic shallow water fishes. Some of these are, I kind of see snorkeling. But some of these are, like the boxfishes and the porcupine fishes are particularly fascinating because those are more like reef-oriented fishes. I'd love to pull up a picture of a spiny boxfish because these are pretty cool. There we go. So they actually, it looks a lot like a burrfish, which is one of my favorite critters to see on a dive. But these guys are very cute. Have a lot of personality in their movements, and I wonder if we can get a video of a burrfish. Spiny boxfish. Okay, yeah. So this actually is a good little shot of two of the blacknose sharks. Oh, no, nope, nope, nope. No ads. Hate the ads, man. Two of the blacknose sharks prey items. Get me out of here. Okay. There we go. So, and they're two really cute fish. So I kind of feel bad showing them, but these are very popular reef dwelling species. So it kind of makes sense that a shark like the blacknose shark, which spends a lot of its time on the reef, goes after those two kinds of fishes. And I feel really bad because those are very adorable fishes. So. But these sharks are, in their own way, quite adorable. So here's actually a clip of blacknose sharks in the New England Aquarium, which I believe is in Boston. And got a really cool tank here with look-down fish. I believe there is... oh yeah, it looks like... what do you call that? Pompano. Pompano is in this tank. Tarpon's in this tank. Nice shot of a blacknose shark. Being pretty excited around the bait here. Also, what a fun job, just like being an aquarium diver and feeding sharks. That's a pretty good experience. We got a beautiful sea turtle in the back. Green moray eel coming into the front. A bonnethead shark, Sphenotibero. And then a cownose ray photobombing, so we love the cownose rays. And then a trunkfish, and a green sea turtle, a pretty fat one too. That is a well-fed sea turtle. Here's a shot of a blacknose shark in the wild, and actually that's a juvenile angelfish in the foreground. It's a really good shot of a, I can't tell if that's a French angelfish or gray angelfish juvenile, but really great shot. So really great to see a blacknose shark kind of cruising through the edge of a coral reef into a sandy plain. And it's kind of cool to see that it's transitioning to a very different zone where it could be like flounder or crabs or marine worms or maybe jawfishes. Here we go back into coral reef. So we got some beautiful brain coral in the foreground, some sponges. So a lot of like blennies and gobies and other small fishes would be hiding in the coral, and they'd be great prey items for the species. But then if the shark wanted something a little different, it could just go into a sandy substrate and pick up some flounder or crabs or just other critters that might be like hiding in the sand. So really cool shot of a blacknose shark hugging closely to the bottom. And he might be trying to search for something that might be buried in the seabed. Especially since it's turning around and kind of going in a little bit of a circular movement. So imagine being like snorkeling or diving, and you just see this like little shadow over this vast expanse. It's so cool. So really fun shot of the species. Oh yeah, I just saw Roro's comedy eat burrfish. I forgot that they had those sharks for a bit at the New England Aquarium. But yeah, I feel bad because I love the burrfish. I probably shouldn't have shown that clip. But yes, blacknose sharks sadly eat burrfish. So it's also interesting that they feed on octopus too. That's actually not easy to do because octopi are very smart, and in other parts of the world, octopi can actually outsmart sharks, either by hiding in unique ways or kind of like, I think Blue Planet did a good special of a octopus putting pressure on the shark's gill to help, deter it from feeding. So it's pretty cool, how octopi have been, like how they've evolved to interact in a complex way with potential predators. So. They have blacknose sharks have 10 to 11 months gestation period, so not too bad as far as sharks go. Currently, blacknose sharks appear to exhibit two different reproductive cycles in the northwestern Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico. Studies have shown that female blacknose sharks in the Gulf of Mexico reproduce annually, with yolk development occurs concurrently with the late stages of gestation. However, female blacknose sharks in the Atlantic appear to reproduce once every 2 years or biennially. Interesting. So the Gulf of Mexico population would be reproducing faster, which is kind of interesting. Litter size for blacknose sharks is 3 to 6, but the usual number is 4. At birth, the young measure at 17 to 20 inches or 43 to 51 centimeters total length. Nurseries for the species are extensive and range from the shallow coastal waters of Georgia to the shallow waters of central and southern Florida. Large sharks go after the species as a prey item, and particularly dusky sharks, which is really cool. Dusky sharks are also an endangered species. Let's see. This actually, it's sad to see this shark caught on a hook, but it's actually an interesting shot here of the blacknose shark's namesake, the black tip at the top of the snout. So it's such a subtle feature, but once you see it, it's pretty distinctive. All right. So I think that's all we might have on basic biology for the species. Shark is easily identifiable by the tart tip on its snout, no interstitial ridge, but has small pectoral fins, dorsal fins with short rear tips. First is small, the second is moderately large. Okay, so I think with that we can probably transition to a little bit of the science. So let's see what we have as far as blacknose sharks. Okay, this is about the northern limit of its range by Frank J. Schwartz, who's a pretty prominent shark scientist from 1984. So very, very prominent shark scientist as far as the Mid-Atlantic region. So occurrence, abundance, and biology of the blacknose shark, Carcharhinus acronotus in North Carolina. So we'll just kind of read the abstract and cruise through a little bit of the science. By the way, if there's a shark that you'd like to review next week, I know I haven't done this in a while, and I think it's because we are getting to that area where we've covered a lot of sharks, and I've enjoyed kind of like picking species just to kind of cover, make sure we like cover our shark bases. But if there's a particular shark you want to see next week, please let me know. I'd be happy to review it. Please leave a comment in the chat. Any sharks that we haven't reviewed, or shark families that you would like to take a look at, would love to have any kind of input. So, well, blacknose sharks are built different. Yes, and they really are, and they're actually really cool as far as I just kind of like that slender, compact, small. Like they're not tiny sharks. They're not like little sharks, but you know, they're like these beautifully like small sharks, like these little like compact like mini bull sharks, or like mini, not bull sharks, but like mini sandbar sharks or mini blacktip sharks. They're just kind of like, you know, they're really cool in terms of like the niche that they occupy. So let's see. So this is from University of North Carolina Institute of Marine Sciences. So this is actually a really great shark research institute. I know that I shill a lot for, or not shill, but like I know I support VIMS a lot, like the Virginia Institute of Marine Science a lot. But the Virginia Institute of Marine Science and this one, the University of North Carolina Institute of Marine Science, both of them lay claim to having the oldest shark research survey in the United States and maybe the world. And it's actually hard to tell which one came first. So I'm Team VIMS just because I'm in Virginia, but I think this can lay claim. They both have provided great data sets as far as it's like there are these surveys that mimic commercial fishing, and they help kind of monitor shark abundance since the 70s, which is it's very, very valuable data. So let's see. Abstract. The biology of the blacknose shark, Carcharhinus acronotus, is presented for specimens captured by lawn lining off Shackleford Banks, North Carolina, between 1973 and 1982. This entails comments on the number, seasonality, catch rate, color, age, growth, size, maturity, meristics, morphology, reproduction, and parasites. Carcharhinus acronotus frequents North Carolina coastal waters from May to October. Males dominate catches through July, females from August to early fall catches. Catches varied among years and are probably affected by seasonal water temperatures and salinity variations. Best longline catches occur on morning ebb tides and are depth specific at one depth rather than between depths. Catch per unit effort data indicate more blacknose sharks are caught per 100 hooks in North Carolina than in Florida or the Gulf of Mexico, areas previously believed to harbor abundant populations of blacknose sharks. Vertebrae were aged following staining with a modified silver nitrate technique. A linear relationship was found between vertebral radius and shark fork length. Growth curves were constructed from back calculations developed from linear regression and von Bertalanffy. I always say this wrong. Bertalanffy. Von Bertalanffy equations. The largest male and female Carcharhinus acronotus taken were larger than any previously reported. Near-term embryos are about 510 millimeters, or 51 centimeters. The smallest free-living males were encountered at 56 centimeters and 72 centimeters for females. Von Bertalanffy plots predicted 1.6 meters total length males to be 9.6 years old. Morphometric and meristic data are given for blacknose sharks 65 to 1400 millimeters total length, or 1.4 meters total length. Teeth and vertebral counts were within ranges reported by others. Developing young 65 to 125 millimeters total length, lack dermal denticles. Specimens 200 millimeters total length or larger are completely covered with pedunculate three-ridged denticles. Carcharhinus acronotus, or blacknose shark, was a new host for three of the five species of parasites found in adult specimens. Arguments are presented that indicate two breeding and pupping populations, one off of North Carolina, the other off Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. A constant exchange of blacknose sharks seems to occur between these two populations in areas. The gestation period is believed to be only 9 months. Wow. So we won't read the whole thing, but I'm kind of curious about just fun pieces of data. So the biology of blacknose shark is relatively incomplete, even though various aspects of seasonality, size, catch per unit effort are reported for Florida and Gulf of Mexico specimens. So to orient, this is actually really cool. So this is the Shackleford Banks in North Carolina, which is near Cape Lookout, and Beaufort Inlet. And what's kind of cool, you can actually do some diving here. And not just like the famous North Carolina deepwater shipwreck diving with sand tiger sharks. There's actually a couple shallow water sites here too. Cape Lookout has a really beautiful lighthouse. And this whole area, I believe, is protected by Cape Lookout National Seashore, so there's not a lot of development here. We don't need to go into methods. This is pretty old school science, but really cool to read. Oh, there we go. And this is actually some images of juvenile blacknose sharks caught from the 80s. What's kind of interesting is one way to tell if a shark is young of the year is that it will have this scar on its belly called the umbilical scar. If it's a shark that gives live birth, it's very similar to in a weird way, it's actually very similar to like a navel for humans, where it's a scar that there was an umbilical cord there at one point. But again, this is only for live-bearing sharks. So, and it's kind of amazing. Oh, and here you go. This is actually an example of a little bit of a the shark's mother's placenta connected with the umbilical cord to the shark here. So it really is incredible that sharks have so many different modes of reproduction depending on the group. Where requiem sharks, like these sharks, they're live bearing, and the way that they give birth live is very, very eerily. Maybe not eerily, but it's very similar to the way mammals give birth. Which is kind of incredible. These are two very different groups of animals, like mammals and sharks, but a group of sharks has evolved in such a way where they give that kind of live birth. And then, of course, a lot of sharks lay eggs too, so totally different mode of reproduction as far as like horn sharks or cat sharks laying eggs in the seabed. So it's really, really impressive and fascinating just how diverse sharks are. I won't read the whole abstract here, but this is kind of interesting. Age and growth of the Blacknose shark in the western North Atlantic Ocean with comments on regional variation in growth rates. I think this is going to affirm that the sharks in the Gulf of Mexico grow faster. Let's see. Females in the western North Atlantic have a higher theoretical longevity than females in the Gulf of Mexico. Males in the western North Atlantic have a higher theoretical longevity than males in the Gulf of Mexico. The significant differences between these life history parameters for blacknose sharks suggest that, when possible, future management initiatives concerning blacknose sharks should consider managing the populations in the western North Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico as separate stocks. Interesting. This might be kind of interesting. Reproductive biology of blacknose sharks in the coastal waters of South Carolina by W.B. Driggers, D.A. Oakley, G. Ulrich, J.K. Carlson, B.J. Cullum, and J.M. Dean. The reproductive biology of blacknose sharks in the western North Atlantic Ocean was studied by examining specimens collected in the coastal waters of South Carolina. Males begin the maturation process between 875 and 910 millimeters fork length, as indicated by the presence of functional claspers and siphon sacs. The presence of vitellogenic oocytes and developing oviductal glands and uteri indicate that females begin to mature at around 870 millimeters. Length, which 50% of the population reached maturity, was 896 and 964 millimeters. Equivalent to 4.3 and 4.5 years for males and females, respectively. Mating took place. Gonadosomatic indices suggested that spermatogenesis and vitellogenesis began after December. Mating took place during the end of May and the beginning of June. Fertilization occurred during late June and early July, suggesting that females blacknose sharks are capable of sperm storage. So this is really interesting that, and I forget which groups of animals can do this, but I want to say some amphibians can do this, but some sharks have been known to do this. And there was that whole thing about the bonnethead shark, and we definitely have talked about this before, but bonnethead sharks giving birth without a male influence. So it's May the 4th. Bonnethead sharks have gone Anakin Skywalker, where they've or Shmi. I guess it'd be Shmi Skywalker. There have been bonnethead sharks that have gone full Shmi and in captivity, and they have reproduced the chosen one. They actually gave birth to a bonnethead shark pup without a male influence, and the theory was that the female bonnethead shark in captivity was storing sperm and they didn't know, but the birth came after a year of captivity without a male influence. So it was truly parthenogenesis, which is like a way to phrase it is like virgin birth, but like it's essentially, another way to phrase it is like kind of like cloning in a weird way, where it's like a perfect clone of the mother, which is really funny. So, or not funny, but like really interesting. So, but yeah, full Shmi, Shmi Skywalker shark. So, But it's interesting that blacknose sharks can and are capable of sperm storage. Based on the timing of fertilization and occurrence of females carrying near-term pups in late May and early June, the gestation period of blacknose sharks was around 11 months. Female blacknose sharks reproduce biennially based on the absence of vitellogenic oocytes in near-term females, and there be no indication of vitellogenesis in postpartum females. Male blacknose sharks are capable of reproducing annually, as indicated by turgid genital ducts, which were observed in all mature males collected during May and early June. So it's kind of cool to see this time of year because it is May now, which is I'm very excited because the diving season up here, well, the warm water diving season has basically begun up here, which is great. So we're getting a lot of sharks migrating into this area. So sandbar sharks are a big one that are coming back into Virginia around this time of year. But it's really cool to see that in South Carolina, this is really the beginning of some of the major mating events for blacknose sharks. So it's a fun time of year, like just really fun time of year as far as sharks kind of coming back in abundance. So we see a lot of where I live in Virginia, we're going to see a lot of the warm water sharks moving back north, which is exciting. Let's see. Reproductive cycle blacknose sharks in the Gulf of Mexico. I think we'll skip that for now. More age and growth studies. What is this? It's kind of a genetic study, which I might skip. This would be kind of interesting. So, longevity of Atlantic sharpnose sharks and blacknose sharks in the western North Atlantic Ocean based on tag recapture data and direct age estimates. Longevity of Atlantic sharpnose sharks and blacknose sharks in the western North Atlantic was examined using direct age estimates from vertebral sections and tag recapture data. Time at liberty ranged from 7.7 to 14 years for the sharpnose shark and 10.9 to 12.8 years for the blacknose shark. Maximum estimated longevity was determined to be 20 years through tag recapture data and 19 years from direct age estimates for the sharpnose shark, and 23 years through tag recapture data and 21 years through direct age estimates for the blacknose shark. These longevity estimates represent a large increase over previous estimates and may have significant effects on analysis that depend on longevity, including lifetime fecundity, mortality rates, demographic analysis, and stock assessments. And this was a study by Brian S. Fraser, William B. Driggers III, and Glenn F. Ulrich. So similar, they seem that they're the same authors as the other paper, so it seems like this is a particular area of interest for them. Now this is interesting. Contemporary population structure and post-glacial genetic demography in a migratory marine species, the blacknose shark, by D.S. Portnoy, C.M. Hollenbeck, C.N. Bleecker, W.B. Driggers III, B.S. Fraser, J. Gelsleichter, R.D. Grubbs, and J.R. Gold. Interesting. Patterns of population structure and historical genetic demography of blacknose sharks in the western North Atlantic Ocean were assessed using variation in nuclear encoded microsatellites and sequences of mitochondrial DNA. Significant heterogeneity and or infer barriers to gene flow based on microsatellites and or mTN DNA or mitochondrial DNA revealed the occurrence of 5 genetic populations localized to 5 geographic regions: the southeastern U.S. Atlantic coast, the eastern Gulf of Mexico, the western Gulf of Mexico, Bay of Campeche in the southern Gulf of Mexico, and the Bahamas. Pairwise estimates of genetic divergence between sharks in the Bahamas and those in all other localities were more than an order of magnitude higher than between pairwise comparisons involving the other localities. Demographic modeling indicated that sharks in all 5 regions diverged after the last glacial maximum, and except for the Bahamas, experienced post-glacial population expansion. Okay, this is really cool. So, as the glaciers receded and sea levels rose again, it looks like blacknose sharks benefited from that and expanded their population. The patterns of genetic variation also suggest that the southern Gulf of Mexico may have served as a glacial refuge and source for the expansion. Results of the study demonstrate that the barriers to gene flow and historical genetic demography contributed to contemporary patterns of population structure in a coastal migratory species living in otherwise continuous marine habitat. The results also indicated that for many marine species, failure to properly characterize barriers in terms of levels of contemporary gene flow could be in part due to inferences based solely on equilibrium assumptions. This could lead to erroneous conclusions regarding levels of connectivity in species and of conservation concern. So really cool that through this study that there is this theory that Blacknose sharks benefited from the retreating ice age. So interesting. The Clone Wars, yeah. I just saw that comment. By the way, as a suggestion for next week, I think it'd be kind of cool to do another small Carcharhinus shark from a different part of the world. So, let's see if I could find one. Let's see. A lot of these I think we've done before, but there's the Indonesian whaler shark. Wow, there's actually quite a lot. Fine-tooth sharks, mid-tooth black tip. Yeah, I don't think we've done the Indonesian whaler shark. This might be kind of a cool one, so I'm going to leave it in the chat. And it's the cousin of a blacknose shark. But it just seems kind of interesting. I've never really seen the species before. So let me know what you think for potentially for next week. So, Indonesian whaler shark. Oops. Okay, Carcharhinus shoot jot. Interesting name. I'm pretty sure we've never touched that species before, so I'd love to take a look at it at some point. So let me know in the comments if that might be a good pick for next week, and I'm going to keep reading through Blacknose shark research. So let's see. A genomic assessment of movement and gene flow around the South Florida Vicarian zone in the migratory coastal blacknose shark Carcharhinus acronotus by Pavel V. Dimmons, Stuart Willis, R. Dean Grubbs, and David S. Portnoy. So this one might also be interesting too. It's kind of cool to see that blacknose sharks are the subject of a lot of population studies. South Florida has been identified as a genetic break from multiple mobile marine taxa, but the mechanisms that impede gene flow largely remain unknown. To understand how South Florida functions as a barrier for blacknose shark, a highly migratory species that has genetically diverged Atlantic and Gulf populations, patterns of genetic variation were assessed in 212 individuals sampled from the Atlantic, Eastern Gulf, and Florida Keys at 2,213 nuclear encoded SMP containing loci. Results supported divergence between the Gulf and Atlantic. 51 individuals caught in the Keys were assigned to the Gulf, as compared to only 2 individuals that assigned to the Atlantic, indicating the Florida Keys is largely composed of Gulf individuals. Further, 2 of 3 migrants were identified, all of which were Gulf individuals captured in the Atlantic. The results indicate that South Florida does not prevent individual movement between the Gulf and Atlantic, and that the Keys may be a seasonal mixing zone. However, the Gulf and Atlantic remain genetically independent, suggesting that region-specific reproductive behavior, compatibility, or aspects of movement ecology such as swimming, energetics, or temperature-driven interannual variability in migratory range may maintain divergence rather than a physical barrier in South Florida. So, let's see if I can get a picture. So it's really blurry, but nice little picture of the Florida Keys here. And it's kind of cool that this is a mixing zone for blacknose sharks from the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. But apparently, a lot of Atlantic individuals don't really go to Florida. Fascinating. This one might also be interesting too. The post-release mortality, recovery, and stress physiology of blacknose sharks in the southeast U.S. recreational shark fishery by R.J. Notek, B.S. Fraser, T.S. Daly Engel, C.F. White, S.M. Berry, E.J. Cave, N.M. Whitney. Let's see. The post-release mortality rate of sharks can be an important factor in estimating overall mortality in stock assessments. However, the accuracy of post-release mortality rates is dependent on our ability to evaluate mortality under realistic fishing practices and conditions. In the southeast U.S. recreational rod and reel fishery, we work directly with recreational fishing captains to investigate the post-release mortality of blacknose sharks. These sharks are primarily discarded alive in this fishery, but as post-release mortality for the species yet to be investigated, it is challenging to address the impact of recreational fishing on blacknose sharks populations and assess the effectiveness of management measures. We examined post-release mortality by first capturing blacknose sharks with South Carolina and Florida charter captains. Blood samples were taken immediately after capture to evaluate blood-based indicators of capture stress, and sharks were fit with acceleration data logger tags. So essentially, that they're taking blood samples to find any indicators, like I think lactose is an indicator of stress. Or is it lactose? There's something that is like, it's like a common thing that can be used to indicate shark stress, and they're attaching these like really cool little satellite tags to monitor if the shark is still moving after it's been released into the wild. Let's see, and those little satellite tags measure triaxial acceleration, depth, and water temperature, and they monitor fine-scale behavior and mortality for up to 136 hours post-release. So 136 hours is like maybe a week. How long is that? 36 divided by 24. So 5 days. 136. Yeah. Five nearly 6 days. So. Sharks captured in warm water temperatures displayed increased lactate and decreased pH, the latter which was more pronounced in females. So that might indicate stress. Fine-scale behavior profiles survivorship from most animals and impaired swimming, mortality, and others. All mortality is attributed to predation events, evidenced by marked changes in movement with deviated from reported blacknose shark swimming behavior. They're estimated, so it's like another animal, probably another shark, ate the blacknose sharks that were caught. Our estimated post-release mortality rates range from 3.7 to 42%, depending on the release condition of the animal, i.e. increasing level of swimming impairment. Handling duration negatively influenced release condition, indicating extended handling durations increase the probability of a shark showing impaired swimming. Fishery scale post-release mortality is estimated at 8.5% when considering the distribution of release conditions observed throughout the study. Tag data show that swimming sharks took an average of 12 hours to recover and resume normal swimming behavior, with recovery taking longer in warmer water. That's interesting that recovery takes longer in warmer water. I wonder what the reason would be. Because that also relates to, or maybe not relates, but it's interesting that blacknose sharks do better in the Atlantic than the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic being colder water and the Gulf of Mexico being warmer. So the overall post-release mortality rate in this fishery is relatively low, but may still impact the stock if the total catch is high enough throughout the fishery. Findings from our study will enhance estimates of fishing mortality in future stock assessments and help formulate best practices to reduce the overall fishing mortality of blacknose sharks. Interesting. This is a map of the study zone in South Carolina and Florida. An image of the satellite tag that they used. Nice chart showing that the longer you handle a shark, um, the the worse its condition is going to be. So 3 minutes is like 3 minutes versus 8 minutes. It's actually really interesting to see um, what a difference that makes as far as like handling a shark. Pretty interesting study. Reproduction of Blacknose Shark in coastal waters off of Brazil. I think we already kind of read through a lot of reproduction studies. Want to see if there's anything new here. The abundance of the shark in nearshore areas throughout its distribution makes it accessible to commercial fishing, mainly from inshore hook and line and gill net fisheries. So, Rory, you were absolutely right that gill nets were a big aspect in the shark being endangered, sadly. Okay. So I think I'll just kind of skim through this, and this might be the last study for tonight. But reproduction of the blacknose sharks in coastal waters of northeastern Brazil by Fabio H.V. Hazin, Paulo G. Oliveira, and then Matt K. Broadhurst. Prevalence of adult females in catches is similar to that from observations made by Schwartz in 1984. So that was a study that we read first. For stocks of the southeastern United States, it could be attributed to reproductive migration involving relatively large numbers of gravid individuals into the sampled area. Because there is no evidence of disequilibrium between sexes, that is, there were equal numbers of males and female embryos and juveniles, large numbers of adult males are probably segregated. It is unlikely males were in the sampled area not caught because females, although proportionally larger, were captured across the same size range, implying that the selectivity of gear encompassed the range of size of males. Let's see. Our evidence suggests a shorter reproductive cycle for blacknose sharks than that previously noted in the literature. Given the 6 months difference between times of ovulation and parturition for females off northeastern Brazil and those off the southeastern United States, our results also indicate the existence of at least 2 separate stocks. Noting temporal differences in the size of embryos from females, Schwartz proposed 2 partially separated populations off the southeastern United States, one off of North Carolina, and the other comprising individuals from Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. And we learned that there's actually probably 5 genetic populations there, which is so interesting. Additional research is needed to determine if the population in the southwestern Atlantic is separate from those in the north, because the existence of a unit stock of northeastern Brazil would require separate management measures according to the status of that stock. All right. So I'm very pleasantly surprised to see that there's actually quite a lot of population research on this species, and I'm glad that we got to. Yes, absolutely, Roy. Sorry, just saw your comment. Gillnets belong in a dump, 100%. They're horrible, and they cause a lot of damage to sharks, sadly. So. And also, thank you. Love my whalers. So it sounds like the Indonesian whaler shark would be a good pick for next week. So excited to cover that species. But for the blacknose shark, I really appreciated that. I wasn't expecting such a what's the word? There's a robust amount of information on the species as far as its population dynamics, and it's actually a good pick in the sense that, because of its limited depth range, in the sense that it's concentrated in shallow waters, you can actually do a study like that. And that might be part of the reason why we saw a lot of those studies tonight, as opposed to, we haven't really seen as many population studies like that for other shark species. So part of that may be attributed to the Blacknose shark's biology in the sense that it's a smaller shark that is able to grow relatively quickly, reproduce relatively quickly compared to other shark species. And with that, you can make some interesting observations in terms of how the population, how the populations are structured and how their genetics flow or don't flow in the case of sharks that are in the Gulf of Mexico versus Atlantic, and specifically the Bahamas. Like the Bahamian sharks are a little different from the other ones. And what's interesting is it might not really be at a species level. Like they may not be distinct enough to be different species because it seems like they diversified after the Ice Age, which is kind of cool. But even so, the fact that there's distinct populations of blacknose sharks in different parts of the ocean is just really interesting. So, and I'm glad we learned about that tonight. So, but overall, really fun shark, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching again. Just because these, like, the stream is just really fun to go over every shark species, and this is actually a fun one for me because I've seen these before a couple times, but I've never really spent a lot of time with blacknose sharks. So I'm glad that we got to devote some time to the species for tonight, and that we got to talk about Star Wars a little bit too. So, but guys, thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy May the 4th. And I think because unfortunately the holiday fell on a Monday. And I know it's not like a holiday, but it is kind of a holiday. Since it fell on a Monday, I hope you enjoy some Star Wars later this week. I myself am hoping to watch Rogue One at some point because I've been watching them all in chronological order, and I think that's where I am on the chronology. So thank you, Roy. Have a good night too, and have a great week. And I will see you guys next week for the Indonesian whaler shark. But until then, take care. See you soon. Bye.